just charges, saying that they will face, quote, referral for criminal prosecution at the very least. Joining us now, another member of the Select Committee, Congresswoman Stephanie Murphy of Florida. She's Chief Deputy Whip of the House Democratic Majority. Thank you very much for coming on. I'd like to dive in on this because whenever I ask what will happen when these people don't answer subpoenas and don't show up, I get, the answers, we're going to do everything in our power. We're going to do everything we can. I would like to know what exactly it is that's going to happen if these people refuse to show up, which they most likely will. What actually physically will happen? How will we get to hear from these people? How will the testimony be compelled?
Well, good morning. It's great to be with you all. And I know that there's a lot of chatter right now on Twitter and social media about how the committee isn't going to enforce our subpoenas. And let me tell you very clearly that that is not true. We intend to enforce our subpoenas, and the first step will be for us to pursue criminal contempt. What that means is that the committee will put together a report and then refer it to the House floor. There will be a vote, and then it goes to the Department of Justice. And I fully expect this Department of Justice to uphold and enforce that subpoena, because I think this Department of Justice believes that nobody is above the law. And we have to understand that the context of what we are pursuing, the information we are pursuing, is so critical to our democracy and to the future of this country. We are a nation that depends on the peaceful transfer of power, and that when elections, no matter how contested they are, when those election results are delivered, that we accept those results and move forward. What we saw on January 6th was an attempt to use political violence to change the outcome of an election. I'm somebody who came from a country, from Vietnam, where political violence was the method for political transitions. And I, for one, will not stand by and see that happen here in this country, a country I love so much.
Congresswoman, we saw too often during the last session of Congress, members of the Trump administration just ignore congressional subpoenas. It really was shocking. It was as if they had no impact at all. Will it be the recommendation of you and other members of Congress that if these congressional subpoenas are ignored, that the Justice Department jail those who don't comply?
The consequences of criminal contempt are both fines as well as jail time. And my hope is that this Department of Justice will act on that, because we have to demonstrate that we are serious about these subpoenas, and that people who try to evade the subpoenas will face the full extent of consequences that is available by the law.
Well, would you recommend jail time?
I would recommend the full extent of consequences, jail time, fines. We need to make sure that these people understand that this is not acceptable.
All right. Willie.
Congresswoman, so you're supposed to have Mark Meadows. You're supposed to have Steve Bannon before you to testify. Mark Meadows hasn't indicated whether he'll actually show up and give a deposition. He was available, though, to show up on Fox News and do an interview earlier this week. When he was asked about it, he said, I'm going to let the lawyers handle this, and then went into a nonsensical answer about how we've already been through 2 impeachments. Why are we doing this? Well, because it's completely unrelated, but that's a separate issue you don't have to answer for. What questions do you have? Let's take Mark Meadows, the former chief of staff to President Trump. What questions do you have for him?
There's a variety of questions I have for all of the people that we're bringing before this committee, but the purpose of the committee is to lay out all of the facts, all of the events that led up to January 6th and then what happened on January 6th. So of Mark Meadows and anybody else in front of us, I want to know how much planning was involved, who was involved in that planning, who funded it, what their intent was when they came into that day, and then what they knew as that day unfolded, and the safety and security of people like the vice president and members of Congress were at risk. What they did either to respond or not respond on that occasion. What we have to do is lay out the full set of facts so that the American people understand how perilous we were in that moment, how close our democracy was to going over the cliff, and to ensure that we can lay out the facts and figure out how to fix this situation so that we don't have anybody who takes the opportunity to try to undo a fair and free election.
Congresswoman Murphy, we have all heard, with all due respect, the phrases, not just from you, but from other members of Congress, to the full extent of the law. So my question to you is the subpoenas that have been issued, they are in effect federal subpoenas. Are you dealing with the U.S. Marshal Service? Because in federal court, people who don't take advantage of responding to the subpoena, the marshals go out and bring them to court. Are you going to use the Marshal Service to bring people like Mark Meadows to Congress?
I know that we have engaged with a wide variety of law enforcement offices, including the U.S. Marshals, in order to issue the subpoenas, and we will use everything, as you said, with all due respect. We will use all of the agencies and all of the tools at our disposal to issue the subpoenas and then enforce them.
All right, Congresswoman Stephanie Murphy, thank you so much. Thank you for your service. We appreciate your coming on the show this morning. Hundreds of supporters of former President Donald Trump gathered yesterday